So I got a problem I can't fix. Sometimes in my life I have problems and I can solve them. I tried to solve this problem, the drinking and the drug problem, and whatever I was doing was not working. What I come to find out was that drinking and drugging were just a symptom of my problem. My real problem was I couldn't get rid of my emotions. It was in this cup and I felt like it was built up. It was this pressure, and drinking and drugging, although temporarily seemed to relieve it, problem was still there. So I quit trying to do things my way, trying to do it a different way, and that's what led me into finding a solution. And I came to believe that doing certain checkpoints would only make me normal. I wasn't looking to be anything more than that. I felt like less than zero, and I want to just be normal. And so I'm going to try something else. Today we're going to talk about that decision. My decision was to do this. I'm going to figure out a way through the help of this program to change the way I think. Because my thinking was, I gotta have it, I gotta have it, I gotta have it. Whether it was booze, whether it was drugs, I've gotta have it. Especially once I really was started. I knew that over a period of time, my intervals were getting less and less. I couldn't hold off. I could probably hold off for more than 2 or 3 minutes when I first came in this time to doing it. And that was terrible. I was going to be looking at. Let me just say it. I needed to find a more long-term solution to be happy with not doing drugs and alcohol. There's a difference right there. I'm looking for a long-term solution to be happy. That's the key. Because just putting that stuff down is not going to make me happy. I repeat that. It's not going to make me happy. So this decision to do what? Change the way I think and change the way I act. And I don't know how to do that. Didn't know how to do that. If I could have done that, I wouldn't be here. So what am I really doing? I'm turning it over to the care of God. Now, in any 12-step program, there's, your higher power, God, and that's what they specifically call it here. Or there's God, God, good orderly direction. So I can take a spiritual approach to this, or I can take a more psychological approach to this. And this is two schools that we have borrowed from in order to do this process. I hear people, and I was just as guilty as everybody else, say, well, I've done step 1, 2, and 3. First of all, do you have a sponsor? No, you haven't done anything. Unless you're just Mr. Wonderful and you figured out your own problems, and guess what, up until this point, if you're anything like me, I couldn't figure out my own problems. So I got a sponsor, and I just needed to change just my overall, what I do in the morning, the way I think throughout the day. I wanted that obsession to go away. So one morning I woke up, and at this point I started feeling, call it a swift kick in the butt, call it the author of coincidences, call it God if you like, call it your higher power. That's up to you. I felt something guiding me along, so I got up one morning. And normally I was staying out kind of late, hanging out with friends in recovery at this time because I really needed to. So I got up that next morning early, which was weird, having 4 or 5 hours sleep, and I went to this church with a friend of mine. Now, you don't have to do this, but this is just how I did it. So I understood that I was making a decision, and a lot of people sometimes think, well, let's talk about making a decision. So let's say me and my friend Bill, we're going to, we're talking about going to get some ice cream. I tell Bill that I made a decision to go get ice cream. How many people are left? Most people would say, there's, one person left, Bill, because I'm the one that made a decision. No, there's 2 people left. All I did was make a decision. I didn't follow through with no action. So what I did was I went to this church and I got down on my hands and knees and I asked the God of my understanding. I made a decision. I guess you could write this on a piece of paper and make a declaration that here's the decision I was really making. In order to change the way I thought and act, I'm going to do the rest of the steps. Steps 4 through 12. That's the decision I'm making. If I did this right, basically, I'd probably be almost instantly going and getting a piece of paper and a pencil because I'm about to take an inventory, which is the next step ahead of us. Okay, so I sat down and I made this decision that I was going to take an inventory, admit it to somebody else, talk to somebody else about it, ask the God of my understanding for help removing things that I've realized were problems, and make amends in my life. There's a little more than that, but hey, that's kind of the gist of it. So that's looking ahead, sort of the bigger picture. So I made this decision, and in my heart, I just started crying, knowing that my life was going to change. I knew it. I knew this is what I was supposed to be doing for the first time in my life. I knew that I was on the right path, and nearly instantly, I went and got this piece of paper, and I was ready to do an inventory. I started reading about it, because I didn't understand it. Thank goodness for sponsorship, and it talks about that in the big book. It says we launched on a vigorous course of action. So, if I did step 3 right, boom, I'm doing step 4. Now, here's the thing. If there's no action following, if I did steps 1, 2, and 3, that's all I ever did when I go to meetings, then something's wrong. So what do? You go backwards. Okay, am I doing a 4 step? Am I doing inventory? No. So what happens in step 3? Did I quit playing the director? Probably should have done that in step 1, actually. But it's during these times, am I still directed? I always think of the example of this. There is Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese doesn't necessarily do the starring role in his movies, and Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't direct in his starring movies. They both do a pretty darn good job, though, of what they do individually. So there's already a director out there. I'm starring in this play called life, so I'm an actor. Can't do both, so I might as well just pick one and go. So I'm going to be an actor, so I'm going to let something else direct me. And that's okay. If you want to make it, a 12-step program, if you want to make it the God of your understanding, the trick of it is to look at the follow-through. Is there action behind it? If there's no action behind it, something wasn't done right. So let's go backwards. So I'm not taking an inventory. I didn't make a decision to do the rest of the steps, including an inventory. Why is that? Because maybe I don't believe this stuff's going to work. That's a possibility. Or maybe I don't realize that I have a problem with booze and drugs, but my life pretty much is terrible. However, there's another option. I realize that I have a problem with booze and drugs, but if I quit, everything's just going to be A-okay. That didn't work out either. I can manage this. There's the thing. I have to quit managing this. I have to quit playing God. I'm not saying you got to believe in God, but I had to quit playing God. That was the most important thing that I ever did. Something I have to remind myself on a daily basis to do. That's why I get up every morning. I say a prayer turning my life over to the care of the God of my understanding. If you just wake up every morning and make a verbal declaration to turn it over to a 12-step program, that's great and wonderful. I think that's absolutely wonderful. That's a lot better than probably I was doing, months before I came to this program, that's for sure. So, but really, what kind of was cool was I got this sort of sense of who God was in my life. I started praying, asking for help. I started praying really for other people who made me mad. Found it was a great way to relieve stress in my life. And so I got this, one day I'm sitting in front of my couch praying for someone because obviously I was the problem, but I was mad at them, go figure. So I was praying that they were, happy, joyous, and free, and happy, healthy, and prosperous. In my mind, in my heart, I could feel God behind me, and I could see God in my mind, and I could see him just come up and pat me on the back, like, hey, it's going to be okay. But really, I felt it, and I felt this sense of peace that really hasn't left me, I wouldn't say that I lost the obsession at that point. That's a different story. But I felt it. I felt okay for the first time, like some of this pressure was getting relieved, and I figured out that, a different way to do that. And it was kind of the easier, softer way too. So how cool is that? I'm on this journey, trying to get better. I know that I'm a little more sober than I was a few 24 hours ago, but I'm not sober enough. continual process. Thank you.